Drowning in clutter? If so, you are in the right place. At Clarity Corner with Christiana, we peel back the layers that are clouding your ability to see and show you ways you can reclaim your life and your communication. It's not what you know, it's what you implement that makes all the difference. Welcome to Clarity Corner with Christiana. So happy to have you here. It is going to be an incredible show today. Today, we are going to be talking about handling clutter that gets in the way for your freedom. So let me ask, it's so funny. I've been through the holidays. We were meeting people, talking about what's going on, getting families together. And the biggest thing that comes up over and over and over again is clutter. Oh my gosh. Getting all the family together in a house, figuring out just the dishes, the plates, how does all that go together? Where is everything? So it was a really fun experience. And I've been talking to so many people about this. So let me ask you, have you noticed you've been accumulating more this year? Or are things starting to pile up? Maybe you got behind and you're struggling to catch up. If any of these are applying to you, or if you notice that there's things that used to be simple and easy and now it's just getting harder to find things, these are the things we're going to cover today. So stay tuned. So let's talk about clutter. You know, Peter Walsh is an organizing expert, and he said clutter is anything that gets in between you and the life you want to be living. And I love that viewpoint because it really is not just physical clutter. It's mental clutter. It's also the clutter of language if you're not speaking the same language. But today we're going to focus on physical clutter because here's the thing. The clutter will get in the way of what you want. And we're going to go deeply into that. But first, let's talk. What is clutter? Clutter is a confused or disordered state or collection, or like a jumble of things. Or another one is to fill or cover with scattered or disordered things that impede movement and reduce effectiveness. Now, I don't know about you, but if you find that your productivity is suffering or it's taking you longer to get things done, odds are probably clutter is part of the problem. And clutter is insidious. You know, clutter is that thing that creeps in slowly and you don't notice. You see stuff piling up and you go, oh, you know, it's easy. I'll just get to that in a little bit. And then, you know, a week goes by, a couple weeks go by, next, you know, a month goes by and you're like, ooh, okay, well, now I'm going to have to block a little bit more time to handle it. And then you still put it off because you're like, well, maybe I don't have that amount of time. And then what happens is it explodes. And by the time you handle it, it's this huge project that you have to like put your life on hold to handle. Have you had that experience? I've made a career off helping people that have had that experience over 20 plus years. So now what we want to be able to do is look at it as we're going into the holiday. This is the opportunity. People are going into their storage units. They're going in, they're pulling decorations out. And this is a perfect opportunity to remove all of that so you can create a powerful 2022 by removing what's in the way and what's blocking. So let's take a look. I always say a good idea, if left unattended, becomes your anchor. Well, what does that really mean? My husband started working from home with the pandemic, and he said, okay, well, I'll work at the kitchen counter. Well, he's working at the kitchen counter and then he has papers and he's in engineering. So sometimes he has like things he has to look at that are being manufactured. So then those start adding up and then his technology pieces started adding up. And before you know it, he took over that whole area and it kept getting harder and harder for him to find things as time went on. So this is a great idea is, hey, let's work at the kitchen table. If it's left unattended and you add 3 months, 6 months, a year, it becomes the anchor that not only will stall your boat, but oftentimes pull it under. So I've had this happen with so many clients. I have a client who's like an incredible, very well-known attorney, and he believes that all of his papers should be out on his desk and he can find anything when he's looking for it. Except we added a year to his desk, a couple years to his desk, and his pile kept getting taller and taller. So he knew where everything on top was, but I left everything on top and I grabbed everything that was on the bottom. And more than one time he said, oh, that's where that is. So it is the thing. If it's left unattended, it becomes your anchor. So let's dive deep. Also, I want you to have a look at clutter as like the ocean. So a lot of us think that maybe we can handle clutter and then it will be gone. It's more like the tide, right? The tide goes out. That's when things are clear and everything looks amazing. And then the tide comes in and clutter builds up. And then tide goes back out again as you clear it up. So there's this ebb and flow. If you want clutter to never be there, that's great. But sometimes that can be a full-time job. And it might be more fun to go live your life and just have something where it's functional. But I don't want you to be under the myth that somehow clutter is not going to happen to you. Like you handle it and then now it's coming back. That's part of the process. So understand that it's always going to be this ebb and flow. It only becomes a problem when you hold on to it. When you start holding on to it, now the water comes in, but it's not receding. And the more the water comes in, you end up with a flood. And when you have flood, things get destroyed, rot happens, then you all of a sudden now you're drowning, you're buried, and it becomes an entire project. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we're going to handle clutter, which is the barrier that gets in the way of what you want. So you may be thinking, well, how does this affect me? I mean, does it really affect me? I mean, I could just shut the door and walk away. Well, let me tell you, clutter is insidious because you think it doesn't hurt you. But what happens is it's kind of like, when you're on your computer and you have one tab open and everything's going really well. And then like you're searching for things and then you have like another 2, 3, 4 tabs open. And then maybe you get up and go do something, you come back and you click on something else. And then you have another 3 or 4 tabs open. And what happens is the more tabs you have open and the longer you have them open, meaning I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I can go a couple days before I turn off my computer and reboot it. And so it gets slower and slower and slower. And I think, oh, it's Zoom that's slowing down. No, it's me. I'm the one that's in the way. I don't know. Have you ever had that experience?
Oh yes, on these computers right now.
Exactly, right? It's crazy.
All this work.
Exactly. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look at what are the tabs that you have open on your computer, and then we're going to look at easy ways to start removing them so we can start speeding it up. So clutter blocks your creativity, it drains your energy, it lowers your productivity. And many times it can actually harm your reputation. So let's say you are supposed to follow up with somebody, but you forget to follow up, right? That's something that can harm your reputation. It also causes stress and tension. And stress is the silent killer in the US, right? And I'm going to talk about how that builds, and we'll go into that a little bit more deeply. But it can also negatively impact your relationships. I've made an entire career out of clutter because my mother could not keep a house. She said the only thing she was allergic to in her life was housework, and it was true. I affectionately call her the Tasmanian devil of clutter because everywhere she went, there was like a tornado. You could see where she went through the house because there was like little things that accumulated along the way. And my father was super organized, engineer, pillar of the community, running on like over 33 different committees over his lifetime, super organized down to the minute, like had everything planned out. And the only thing they fought about was having a messy house. And so had she been able to maintain that, they probably wouldn't have fought because it's the only thing I ever remember them. So it would impact their relationship. And I've seen this inside many different people. I've worked with people at every income level. And what it does is it puts strain on the relationship because there's usually one that doesn't want the clutter and then there's one that does. And you always end up in that head-to-head fighting about it. So, and that leads to the other aspect of why clutter? Why should we address it? Because it's a shameful thing. And so much so, I was talking to my girlfriend the other day and I said, yeah, I'm so excited because this whole month is going to be about clutter. Let's clear the decks before 2022, right? We've been in our houses longer, more stuff's happened. So let's like clear the way so we can have a really powerful 2022. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you in my head? Like my paperwork's I'm behind. My paperwork's all grown up. So I have all this, it's built up. I have all this stuff to handle. Plus I have all this stuff that's accumulated. And I said, well, oh my gosh, too bad you didn't have somebody who knew how to handle this. And she said, you're not coming to my house. I don't want you to see it. And that's it. Nobody wants that part because there's too much judgment and blame. And this isn't about good or bad or right or wrong, or it's literally what's working or what's not working. If you can't be organized, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It just means you haven't found the way that works for you yet. So give yourself a break, right? Everybody's brain works differently, and everybody's brain processes and retrieves information differently. So we're just going to dive into what that looks like. So we're going to be heading into break in just a minute. But when you come back, we're going to talk about what's the suffering component of it. So how can we stop the suffering and get over it and then find a way to handle it? So we'll see you in just a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? You know, we found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
IGA.
Are you a writer, inventor? Do you have questions about your intellectual property rights? Well, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 11 o'clock for Joy on Paper. Once a month, I will have a special guest, the writer's legal eagle, Bill Larson of Larson & Larson, who can answer your questions. Protect your valuable work. Email me your questions to patsy.radio@gmail.com and then listen in every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 a.m. right here on Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network. That's patsy.radio@gmail.com.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
And welcome back to the show. So we were talking about clutter today, and we're going to dive into how can you get a handle on it to be able to get what you want in your life. So I'm really excited. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I see you there. Post a comment. If you're online, post a comment. You can follow me on Facebook.com at /The Clarity Strategist. So Facebook.com/The Clarity Strategist. You can also call in if you want to call in or you have any questions. We'd love to have you join the show for a quick call. It's 727-441-3000. 727-441-3000. All right. So let's dive in. So we talked about clutter and what does it mean? So we've got what clutter is. So now let's look at it from this viewpoint. There's short suffering and long suffering. So short suffering and long suffering. And what does that mean? Well, let's use this example. Your mother buys you this vase for Christmas, and it doesn't go with anything in your house. You don't think it looks good at all. What do? You have 2 choices. One, you can say, oh my God, thank you so much. That's great. Oh, wow. And then you put it up and she wants it prominently displayed in your house. So you put it up and you secretly say, okay, as soon as she leaves, it's going down, right? So this is what we're going to call long suffering, meaning that, okay, now you're in a little bit of a white lie, right? So you're saying you didn't say you didn't like it, but you're going along with it. So now she's there, you have it up, And well, as soon as she leaves, you put it away. Now she comes back again and you don't know she's coming back. And suddenly she shows up on your doorstep. Now you're in a panic and you're like, oh my God, where did I put it? Where did I put it? You find it, you rush, you like move everything that was there, you put it back up, and then you pretend it's been there the whole time. And this happens over and over and over and yep, over. Exactly. What happens is this is a little suffering. So it's not really a big deal. It's kind of like a minor irritation. And sometimes, in the moments that she shows up unannounced, it can cause a panic. But it's that little suffering over a long duration because it has no end. Now, the other version of that is the short suffering, which is you get the vase and you say, wow, oh my God, thank you so much. I love that you thought of me. This is just so beautiful. And I love the idea of the vase. However, this is not my style. I'm sorry. Well, what's going to happen? She can blow up. She can get upset. She can get frustrated. Like, I can't believe you didn't say that. Da, 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 da. I'm so offended. You know the whole thing. However, now you don't have to put the vase up. You don't have to pretend going forward. What you can say is, I love the idea of the vase. If you have an idea of what you want to get me, why don't you just say, hey, I'm interested in getting you this, and I can send you 2 or 3 things that I like so you know what to get me next time, but I'm still surprised because I don't know which one you're getting me. So that's a different way of doing it. So now you take the heat, right? She's angry, you're upset, you get, upset, judgment, whatever. But what happens is it blows over. So you have a short suffering. So you have high intensity for a short duration, but now it's gone. Now you're not carrying it with you. So you may say, well, the long suffering is the better choice. And I used to say that too until I really understood. Here's the thing about long sufferings. Every single one that you have builds on top of each other. And you think, well, oh, that's only 10%. Well, then you say, oh, well, I have a conflict with someone at work. I'll just pretend I get along with them. Okay, that's another 10%. Oh, I have a project I didn't finish and I keep beating myself up about it. Well, that's another 10%. And you keep going, you keep adding it up. And what happens, that's why stress becomes a silent killer. Because all these long sufferings, these little things that you don't think matter, add it all up, end up collapsing the whole thing. Your stress goes up, your tension goes up, your health goes down. So this is what we want to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do little itty bitty short sufferings, just little things, just getting them off our plate. And what will happen is you're going to feel so much better. You're going to have more energy. You're going to feel more vibrant. You're going to start getting things that you want. Actually, one of the things that I did since it's the holidays, my stepdaughters came into town and one of them's married with her husband. And I said, hey, here's the thing. My whole career is about not adding clutter to your life. So this is what I'm thinking about getting you, or what would you like for Christmas? So I sat down with them and said, what are you interested in? What are you doing? And then they picked out what they wanted. I bought it for them. We bought it for them. And then they were happy. But now I'm like, look, if I ever add clutter to your life, please let me know. This is not what I want to be doing. To that end, I have a client who had, at this point, she had a 13-year-old son, and I sat in his room and we were organizing him. So we took everything off of everything and we put it in the center of the room. And then we started putting everything back. And what was left in the middle were all the tchotchke gifts that his mom had gotten him for Christmas. And he felt guilty, like he was somehow going to get that short suffering, right? That she would be really upset with him if he didn't love every single thing, but they didn't matter to him. And so I actually sat down with the mom after and said, hey, just FYI, you keep wanting to add value, but this is actually causing him stress and tension. And as soon as we handled that, she stopped doing it. So then he really enjoyed what he got, but didn't have to deal with the clutter of his mother adding the clutter to his life. So think about that as you're getting gifts this year, right? Don't add clutter to somebody just to have something. Find out what they want and do something that they're going to enjoy. All right. So that's long suffering and short suffering. Now, you may have heard this quote before: pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. This is the whole point. If you just try to push it out, it's going to end up becoming a long suffering. So let's just handle it and move on. So let's dive into having a look. So this requires a little bit of bravery because it's easy to pretend that we don't have any issues going on. But let's just have a look at where clutter has accumulated over the last year, right? So first step is we have to become aware of it. So let's have a look. So if you're driving, don't pick up a pen, just keep driving, but just do a little checklist in your head. And for those of you that are there, grab a pen and paper because this is going to be something that's going to be really eye-opening for you and then help you. I'm going to give you a quick thing that you can do at the end just to start this process. We're not going to tackle Mount Everest in one show, but we're going to start taking the pressure off so you can have more space. So what I want you to do is make a list of where this clutter is showing up in your life. Is it paperwork? Or maybe it's things that haven't been handled, or maybe you have old projects that you had, or a collection. I know, like my husband, his favorite thing is he's in billiards. And so he collects cue sticks. Like he's got okay, I'm not going to get the right number, so I'll give you a lower number. He has over 40 of them. Well, in the game of pool, you can only use one at a time, or maybe a couple, like a breaking one and the other, but he just loves them. And, again, it's all about who makes them. And so that's the collection, but that's fine. But we have a defined amount of space in order to hold all of these things so he can have whatever he wants so long as it stays within that space. So is it a collection or is it a project? Like I know one thing that I did is I got really into knitting back in like 2004, so ages ago. I still have one tub of knitting, but it's like, have you ever had a project that you love and you're not quite ready to let it go yet, but you're not doing anything with it? And you may still even add to the collection in the hope that someday you'll come back to it.
Both in my personal and work life.
Exactly, right? It's crazy. So this is the whole point, is like understanding, okay, if I'm not going to come back to it. So what I did with my knitting is I gave a lot of it. That was a hard thing. Actually, I'll go into what I did with it when we get into how to handle it. But think about those things. So where is the clutter accumulating? Maybe you have storage containers. Like that's like a big thing for some people, is they eat out and then they don't want to throw them out, or they maybe want to reuse them. And so they pile up. Or where are you noticing the buildup? Is it your drawers, your closets, maybe your food pantry, maybe it's work, it's paperwork, it's filing. I want you to write down 2 or 3 things that are starting to build up just to start having a look. So just think about that. One of the things that I did, my husband and I started rehabbing houses, flipping and rehabbing houses. And I loved going on Nextdoor and like getting cool landscaping stuff. And, we got free bricks. Somebody said, if you pull up our driveway, you can have all the bricks. And I got really excited about what I was going to do. And so we had over 1,000 bricks sitting in our driveway, like all stacked up. And I went through and I did a beautiful frame of the flower bed and then the tree. And I just did like some really nice landscaping because I realized I had not the patience to do a brick driveway or a brick path. It was too much. And I gave some to my neighbor and I gave some to some other people, but I still have a few remaining there. That's clutter, right? It's things that build up. So what are those things that you start turning a blind eye to? So now that I said that, my neighbor wants them, so I have to make sure I give them to him this weekend. Get rid of them. You can count on it. You can check on me next week. But again, so now that you have an idea of what those things are, let's talk about what is it? What's the clutter? We want to identify what you have. Is it a collection or a hobby? That could be one. Is it my favorite category? I might need this someday. That's my favorite category, because you think, I don't know. And I know women, this is a big thing. Like, well, maybe I'll get back into those clothes. So I'll just hold on to them, so there's that. My husband has kept his textbooks from college, like for engineering. So, he's had those and he finally said he's willing to release those. But what are those things? The other thing is maybe they're memory joggers or memory triggers. So you keep it because it's not the thing, but it's the memory that it evokes. So that may be something. Those tend to be big ones. Is it tools? My husband loves tools. Or is it a buildup of supplies? I know with everything going on with the whole COVID, people stocked up and piled up. I know one thing that I did is we had a ridiculous amount of rice. I don't know why I went to Costco and bought a 25-pound bag of rice. There's no way 2 people can eat that much rice. And what I did is I found, actually in Clearwater, there's a local shelter that feeds 100 people a day every morning. And I saw that the bag was going to, had like 3 months before it expired. And I said, well, I don't want to waste that. So I took it over to them and they were so thrilled because that helped bridge a ton of meals for people. So again, what are the things? So identify what it is, because once you know what it is, then you know why you value it. So then we're going to look at what is it? Right? So if you love something and you want to collect it, that's really, you want to understand why you're collecting it, right? So if you have a past hobby, what I found in my long history of this career of clarity is that people will keep everything if they're not sure of what they truly value. And once they identify the things that are most important, it's very easy to let other things go. So what I want you to do is, with that list that you made, I want you to write down, why do you value it? Like, what is its value to you? Because once we understand that, and then what I'd love for you to do is to really look at, on a scale of 1 to 10, if it's not an 8 or above, don't keep it. Because 7 or below means nobody has a lot of free time anyway. And if it's below an 8, that means, again, the world would have to shut down one more time, and we don't need that. And even then, people found other things to do. So what I want you to do is look at what that is, right? So when we don't have clarity on things, we're going to make everything important. And then the I might need it someday is also the key category. What I want you to look at is, if the I might need it someday, is it something that's truly valuable, or is it something that really is, on a scale of 1 to 10, really it's nice to have, but you think you might need it, but by the time you actually really do need it, are you going to be able to find it when you need it, or are you going to have to go buy it again? Because that is a common experience with most of my clients. So, and understand too that each person has a different personality. So I had a law professor who's very knowledgeable. He loves data. He loves collecting information. His big thing is he loved to collect books. Books were his favorite thing. So he had gotten to the point where I was organizing his office, and he said, oh, well, I have some stuff at home. And I went into his home, and talk about a good idea if left unattended. He had those file boxes stacked 5 high, and you could only get into his house through a maze of walking through these boxes. And he could never find a book when he was looking for it. But they were drowning. They'd taken over his entire life. It burst out from the library that he had into then the living room, then overtook the living room, went into the kitchen, and it got to a point where his entire life almost looked like hoarding, but he just didn't have a strategy. And once we figured out what his strategy was, all of a sudden he donated the books to the law library, and then he had them whenever he wanted them, and they organized them for him. And all of a sudden things started working. But again, it's finding what that is. Maybe you're a nurturing kind of personality where you just love people, you love to be involved, you love to donate, you like to do toy drives or whatever it is. So you might be crafty, you might collect things. Kind of look at, each personality has different things that they value. And just because someone else values it doesn't mean that it's wrong for them. So just be mindful of that. So let's look at, how are we going to handle it? This is my favorite part. How are we going to handle this? So now that we know we've got clutter, we've identified just 2 or 3 different areas that we're having issues with, we understand what it is and why we have it. Now let's look at, how are we going to handle it? So there's so many different approaches. I mean, you could read, my God, every organizing book has their own way of doing it based on the way that their brain works. So what I'm going to do is give you just some simple strategies. And here's what I really want to stress to you is, take this and make it your own. Find a way that makes sense in your brain, because it's not a one size fits all approach. And again, you have to find what makes sense for you. So I'm going to give you some pretty basic things, and then we'll have a look at if that works for you. And then I'm going to give you an even simpler way to get started. So let's dive right in. So first of all, the first step in anything. So if you pick, let's take the garage. Everyone's pretty much got one of those. So if you have a garage or a storage unit, the first thing you want to look at, what is trash? What do we absolutely not need? So you can go through really quickly. And I love this. You just take a big lawn bag and you go, okay, what really is trash? I mean, come on. Do you really need 10 screws from something that is old and you're not going to look at again? I mean, really, like, let's have a look and try to get, so the goal is try to get all the big things in there, fill up the trash bag as soon as you can, and like set the timer and make it a game. Like set the timer for 10 minutes and you're going to fill up the trash bag. Super, super easy. So that way it keeps your momentum up and you don't get like stuck looking at something and get down a memory wormhole. So the first thing you're going to do is what can I throw away? What's trash? The next thing is, what are things that I don't need, but I could donate? So you want to take a trash bag and fill it up with anything that could be donatable or, given to Goodwill. There's so many different things. I'm going to go into all the different strategies that we could look at for that, but just do a trash bag of what you can give away. And again, set the timer, make it super quick. And again, the whole goal is to just take volume off the pile so it becomes more manageable. Because if you see this huge, big, unmanageable thing, oftentimes you won't get started. But if you can just start pulling things away, suddenly you're successful. You've done something, you get a result, it starts feeling better. Like suddenly the light is coming in. And then the next step is, what belongs somewhere else? Oftentimes clutter happens because it just doesn't get put back to where it goes. I can't even tell you how many times. So I usually take like a laundry basket and I take everything that belongs somewhere else in the house and I just like throw it all in there. And then I set a timer and see how fast I can get it to where it goes. And that's just a really easy way to start chipping away at things, because things tend to pile up if you just don't stay on top of it. And like we said, it's a natural ebb and flow. So what we want to be able to do is look at those three things. Now you can go a lot deeper, but if you just follow the 3 basic steps with those, at least you're starting to get started. Does that make sense?
Most definitely.
Excellent. Yeah, because again, it comes down to, if it's not simple, it's not doable. And the more simple it is, if we can keep it simple, you can start getting results, you can start feeling better about it, and you can start chipping away at it. And if you just do this on a regular basis, say, oh my gosh, let me just pull off one. I'm going past Salvation Army. Let me just pull a trash bag together, and then you can drop it off and you're making it useful for someone else. My next thing that I love to talk about is, let's look at donation. Donation is my favorite thing, because if you can find a cause that you love, you'll actually give more than you think. So for instance, I'm a huge animal lover. Well, I don't know about you, but I always end up with more towels than I could ever use. And I just don't really, it's not something that to me, like I need to have new towels every year, whatever. But what I'll do is, if I know that the animal shelter needs towels or newspaper, I find out what they need. And then what I do is I go through once a year, definitely, and I pull everything out and I say, okay, let's just get rid of it and give it to them. And then all of a sudden I feel better. One client that I had, and I'll give you an example of this, and then we'll dive more into this when we come back. But one client, she was in Vegas and she was a crafter and she had so many projects that she loved. But what happened is they had been left unattended and they had grown. And what we realized is her craft room was half full with stuff she would never, ever get to, because she didn't even have access to the basics. It wasn't organized. We pulled 3 large, big black trash bags of extra stuff that she wasn't using, that she had just gotten on sale or whatever. And we pulled it. And what we did is we figured out that her kids' elementary school, she used to volunteer and be really involved there. And she said, why don't we take it there? When we walked in with these huge 3 big black lawn trash bags, the teachers started crying. They said, oh my God, we need supplies. We need this. She was so moved by them being grateful. She went back and pulled 2 more bags. So just know, I just want to leave you with that. We're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this and then give you a quick fix to get ready for the holidays. So we'll see you in a minute.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Did you know that almost all skincare products have ingredients in them that actually harm your skin? This extends shelf life. It gets worse. There are 10 ingredients in skincare products that are banned across Europe. I got really upset when I started researching why my skin was getting worse no matter what I did. So I created my own skincare without any of the nasties, and it worked. My skin is glowing fresh and young like never before. So if you want actual results using 100% natural skin, visit formulaflawless.com.
caregivers find the support they need on Connecting Caregivers Radio with Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregiver. Heard every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m., Linda and her caring and knowledgeable guests will bring you education, information, and resources, as well as a shoulder for caregivers. That's Connecting Caregivers Radio with Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregiver, where you can find help and hope every Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Ain't it good?
Hey, come here. Are you having a hard time connecting your business? You know, we found a simple, easy way for you to connect, engage, and refer other business professionals and have professionals refer your business. It begins with 3 letters, and those 3 letters are
IRGA.
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 So, what is RGA? It's a really great alternative to in-person networking meetings that's a revenue-generating activity. We invite you to connect your business with the most remarkable professionals in your area. Connect, exchange ideas, and refer at rganetwork.net. No masks required.
IGA.
Are you hoping to grow your business but not sure how? Has your business flattened out? It may be your messaging. This is Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. I've been in the TV broadcasting business for more than 30 years, and I enjoy helping businesses and entrepreneurs go to the next level. It's about strategy and branding, finding the right story to tell, and then getting media exposure. I'm here to help you grow your business. Find me on Facebook or my website at MEF Media, and let's launch your next chapter today.
Don't turn it off now. You need this stuff. Tampa Bay's Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome back to Clarity Corner with Christiana. So excited to have you here. We are talking about clutter and ways to be able to make it through the holiday and have less stress. Clutter gets in the way of what you want. So we're focusing on handling that here today. So we were talking about what are the ways that you can handle clutter. And we had talked about making a list. What are the areas where clutter's accumulating? And then how can we go about breaking down this clutter barrier? And one of the ways that you can do it is you can find a cause that you love. I love this because I was talking to my media coach, Maureen Famiana with MEF Media. She's amazing. And she's here in the local Tampa Bay area. We were talking about that she has a place where she donates things. So she goes through her house regularly, pulls items, and gives them to her charity. I had another client who just sold her house and she had a bunch of storage units. They went through the storage units and they had purchased so many toys for the kids, but then couldn't find them. So what they did is as they were going through, they had all these old toys that they hadn't looked at. And what they did is they took all those toys and they donated them for Toys for Tots. And actually here at Tan Talk Radio, if you want to drive by, we're over here on Myrtle. We have a Toys for Tots box. If you want to drop something in here, you're welcome to come here and do that. But pretty much anywhere you go right now, there's somebody raising either food or toys. It's really about supporting people for the holidays. So find a charity that you love. So what is your favorite charity? Do you have, like I said, animal shelters? Another great thing is nursing homes. They're always looking for like old magazines or puzzles or games or movies are really great options, or books. They usually have like a lending library where you can donate old books for them. So those are really good things. So if you have books laying around, you can always just go to like the Goodwill or the Salvation Army, or you can find a local nursing home or assisted living facility and be able to donate there. So it's about finding what you enjoy and what you're passionate about. When I was living in Los Angeles, there was a group that would take people that were homeless and help them. They had a live-in facility where people would start getting on their feet. They would get a job and they would get them into an apartment. So as I worked with my clients, I would take all their stuff. They would have an office that they would close down. I'd fill up a U-Haul and donate all of it. They'd have like couches, things you wouldn't even think of, like paintings. But if you're furnishing an apartment, think of all the things that you would normally put in it. So I haven't found a local homeless charity yet that helps people get back on their feet, but in California I did. So that was one of my favorites. And then also schools. right? Schools are an incredibly great way. Call your local school, call your local elementary school, ask them, what do they need? What are they searching for? Because these are things, once you have a passion, once you have a charity that you can get behind, once you have something you get passionate about, it's going to be more useful to somebody else than it is for you. It makes it a lot easier to release it. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah,
Really
exactly.
does.
Right. It's like, I love too. They also have like old cell phones. I don't know if you have like those old cell phones. They have these eco ATMs in Walmart. I didn't even know about this, where you can sell your old cell phone and turn that into gift money. So that's cool. Or they have ones where you can do it for people just to call 911 if they get into trouble. So they have all these different creative ways of recycling what we're doing. Also, another thing that I love is call churches. Usually they have families that are maybe have fallen on hard times and they need support, and you can call and find out what sort of things that they need, and then help them fulfill or get what they need. So for instance, I know with my mother, she's 86 and she's not cooking the way that she used to. So we have a lot of stuff that's still useful and in good condition. So we're going to go through her cupboards this Christmas and find people that maybe need that and donate it. So that way she doesn't feel like she's giving something up. She feels like she's caring for the person that's getting all the extra supplies. And for her, she feels really good that she can give something. And it's not me just sending it to Goodwill. It's her feeling connected to somebody getting it on the other end. So this is a really powerful way to be able to do that. And Giving Tuesday, make that a weekly thing. How can you give something? Go through and do a bag. So let's talk about the quick way, because we all want to know, like, what gets in the way. If our life is laden with clutter, think about it. Those are all the things that are barriers that are in the way of what you want. Once you start getting rid of that, all of a sudden opportunities show up. I had a client where she was number one sales rep in her company. She did outside sales for pharmaceuticals, and she was brilliant, but she always thought that she was a fraud. Like suddenly people would know that she was disorganized. I went into her 1-bedroom apartment. We pulled 2 dumpsters of clutter out of her apartment. This is just like, old packaging or old sales promos for her company that she hadn't gone through, things she no longer needed that we could recycle. We pulled 2 dumpsters worth of stuff out of it. Once we got it all cleared out, where suddenly she had space and she had a fresh start. Oh my gosh, suddenly her social life started getting crazy. She had people over. She started entertaining. Next thing you know, she's dating. Next thing you know, she's got a boyfriend. Within a year, she's engaged. So all of these things can be available to you. But if your space or your life is already so full, there's no way for anything new to come in. So what we have to do is make space, and then all of a sudden we can start putting things back in. You'll start attracting. Your stress will come down. You'll get peace of mind. All of a sudden, you're going to be able to have success in a way that you weren't even expecting. Your relationships can improve, because if you're someone like a bunch of my clients in the past that had one person who was organized and one that wasn't, that's putting tension on your relationship. So as you handle that, it heals the relationship. So those are really powerful things. So let's talk about what can you do super quick, get a result so you don't have to think about it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to start simple this week. What we're going to do is we're going to do the trash bag rally. Trash bag rally is you're going to get one big trash bag, and you're going to set the timer for 10 minutes in your house. I love 10-minute magic. I've talked about it before on my show. You can go to my website, claritymapping.com. And 10-minute magic is right there. It's easy little ebook to read, and it will transform your life. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a big trash bag. You're going to take 10 minutes and you're going to rush around and you're going to throw everything away that's trash in the cluttered areas. So that way, once you fill it up, you're done. Game over. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab another bag and you're going to run around and you're going to say, what can I put in here and fill this up for donation? So you're going to just go in there and say, I don't need this. I don't need this. You're going to fill it up for donation. So whether you're focusing on a specific charity or you're just going to go to Goodwill, you can fill this bag up and now you can drop it off on your way. You don't leave them in the house. You take the trash bag, throw it in the dumpster, and then you take the Goodwill bag, you put it in your car so it's ready to go. those are just those two things. And what you're going to do is you're going to do that this week. Super simple, super easy. And then just see what kind of charity, what kind of area can you give back? What are people needing? I'm going to tell you, I had someone who had a lot of those to-go containers. So for me, one thing that I'm going to do is I said, well, those are kind of wasteful. Why would you have that? You could just throw them in the recycling bin. But I got a bunch of hamburger from Costco and a bunch of the spaghetti jars, 3 jars of spaghetti, and then like the big thing. And I've got all that, and I'm going to use them and hand out meals to the homeless and just make it at my house and drive around and give people food, because it's an easy way to give back. Right. So that's just me repurposing something. And normally I would never say it, but my media coach said, it's just another way to share. So maybe it's something that you can do. I know I met a gentleman back a few years ago, and he was homeless in Las Vegas. And he said, nobody ever looked him in the eye and he felt worthless. And he said he only had enough money at the time, like 1 box of spaghetti and a jar of sauce. And that's how he started, with nothing. And he said he went around and he was able to feed 4 people with it. And he told his friend about it. His friend said, can I join you? So they each did a box of spaghetti and jar of sauce. And then they went around, and then they were able to feed 8 to 10 people with it. And then a friend said, wait, I want to do this. And now they have a whole charity in Vegas where they go around and they've fed thousands and thousands of people now. And it just started out really small, just by what was a little extra that they had. So my husband says I'm not allowed to do it at nighttime. So I'll just acknowledge that, Freddie. But again, it really is, how can you find a way to give back? Because giving back is going to uplift you and get rid of the clutter that's in the way, that's blocking what you want to be doing. So again, start really simple and make sure that you can do this. Also, go to claritymapping.com. This is my website. I have a lot of great information on there. You can also schedule a session if you say, okay, wait a second, this is my favorite thing, but you haven't seen my house. I'll just say it. Let me put it this way. I had one client that had so much clutter. Her husband had to buy a storage facility, and they took 10,000 square feet of what wouldn't fit in the house. So their house looked great, except for the few rooms, of course, that had the overwhelming amount of clutter. But she had a storage unit that had 10,000 square feet. And I went through that. It took me 8 days and 4 people to go through that and itemize it and categorize it to be able to make it useful and give back to the community. So if you say you have an amount of clutter, pretty much, unless you have a 10,000 square foot storage unit of clutter, I probably could handle it, because I've gone from that end all the way down. So again, really, this is your opportunity. Now that we're going in the garages, we're pulling out decorations, whatever decorations you don't use, donate to somebody so they can use them. You're putting away your Thanksgiving decorations. Maybe some are getting old, or you just want to get rid of them and get new stuff on sale. Do that. But again, just start with this. Just start with handling one piece of clutter in your life. And what you're going to start noticing is, where could that be? So like, what's one thing that you could do for like handling clutter in your life?
Close all those tabs like you talked in the first part. But yeah, Christmas decorations, definitely. There's been a lot that just keep following me around, and half the strand doesn't work.
Exactly. So that might just be a great trash bin
Yes.
one, right? Exactly. But we have this weird thing about throwing things out. I mean, I've seen it for years and years and years as I go through with my clients, and it's, everybody has it. So everyone has that drawer. I love, even on Friends, Monica from Friends, right? She had that closet that nobody was allowed to look in. And when they finally like broke into it, it was like so cluttered. It had literally was just stuff piled up. And it was like her act out closet of things that weren't organized. So we all have that,
And with the textbooks that you're talking, a lot of them, I used to be able to, sell them to other students or whatever. And now, they get obsolete after, so they're just better donated.
Exactly. Right. You don't need to keep them because everything's online anyway. I mean, even now more than ever. I mean, God, I grew up in the generation of you had to look things up in encyclopedias, right? Like now there's Google. So you don't need to have access to all of that anymore. So those are really great ways that you can go through, and it's simple and it's doable. And that's what I love most, right? It's really about having that ability to make something simple enough where you can get a result. I mean, I know people, I have a client and he calls it the clean car effect. And I've worked with people that are incredibly wealthy. And the one thing that I've noticed at a certain level of wealth is that they have a clean car, like spotless, like it's brand new off the showroom floor. Even if it's older, it's still totally clean, no clutter whatsoever. And I asked my client about it one time and he said, it's the clean car effect. It sets the tone for my day. And he said, every time I get in it, it's totally spotless. Like it's brand new, even though it may not be new. The point is he keeps it like that and he treats it like that because that sets the tone for everything else in his life. So even if you just start with your car, clean out your car, get it all vacuumed out. I mean, we have the best drive-through places everywhere with free vacuums and stuff. So even if you can start with something like that and make it simple and maintain your car, that's a great way to just get started.
I believe that because, if there's something sitting there on the passenger seat, it's drags you down. But if the whole there's that once I get all the papers out and everything like that, it's just it's a really nice feeling.
Exactly. So that may be the thing that you can focus on this time as well. So again, I want you guys, I'm so excited about this. Like I geek out on this information because we think it's hard, but it's really not if we can find a reason, if we can make it a necessity. The whole key to getting rid of clutter is create a necessity that's more important. And then suddenly it's so much easier. So we're just going to start with just getting rid of the first layer of trash, right? We're going to fill a trash bag. You do it once a week. You can do it every couple of days, whatever, but at least do it once this week. Second, you're going to pull up a bag for donation. So where? I mean, there's people doing I saw it on my street. The veterans had the pickup where people put bags on the side of the street. Also, another really good resource that I want to share with you is Nextdoor. So if you have something that's maybe heavy, you can put it on Nextdoor for free and people will come and get it. So it's really a powerful tool. If you want something, I had like this big stone that had this really ugly face. It looked like someone in pain, but it was huge. It was like one of those stones for your yard. And it was just too heavy for me to move. And I would scrape my leg on it because it was just like kind of in the way or whatever. And I put it on Nextdoor and people were fighting over it. I mean, it was gone within 2 hours. Somebody had come and picked it up. I even take plants that I have extra and I stick it on the side of the road. People come and take those. It's amazing. So use nextdoor.com. That's one of my favorite resources. Also, again, find something that works for you, whether it's a nursing home, whether it's a church, it doesn't matter, but there's so many resources available and there's so many people that are in need of support, especially after these past couple years. So we can all help each other, lift each other up. All right. So guys, thank you so much for joining in. Remember, this is Clarity Corner with Christiana. We're here every Wednesday at 5 p.m. where we continue to uncover what's clouding your vision and holding you back from communicating and thinking clearly. Make sure to share this with a friend and we will see you next week.